Good morning once more time from one more time from my side. Sorry. Very happy to be with you again today. I feel a lot of pressure on my shoulders presenting after those two great presentations we had this morning. But I will do my best to complement what was explained and showed this morning, because I would like to show you now some tools that the EUIPO has developed to support the work of customs and also to support the IP owners that Kenny mentioned this morning. Because as he rightly said, we cannot enforce IP alone. We need to work with the victims, and the right holders are the victims. So like any other type of crime, you need to work with the victims to investigate the crime and to arrest the criminal. So this is what I would like to show you now. I am completely unprepared and I do not have a pointer, but I'm sure I will. Yeah, great, sorry. Before I show you the tools that we use, I just would like to present very briefly my organization so you understand why we do what we do. And then I would like to focus on one major tool that we developed to support the work of not only customs, but all competent law enforcement authorities. And this is called the IP enforcement portal that was mentioned yesterday during some of the presentations. We shorten it and we call it IPEP. And then finally, very briefly, I will show you the other databases that we have at EU level that you can also use. IPEP, this is a tool which is only for European law enforcement authorities, but this is just to give you also an idea of what could be done at your level and how we try to facilitate the work of customs and other authorities, and also helping the right holders to enforce their rights. But before I show you this, just one word about the EUIPO. I imagine some of you might already know, but just maybe a few words of presentation. This is the European Union Intellectual Property Office. So as I just explained before, some rules within the EU are harmonized, some are not, and in most cases we have rules coexisting at European level and at national level. The European Union Intellectual Property Office is the EU agency for the intellectual property policies in general, but more particularly, this is the agency which is in charge of the registration of the European trademarks and also of the European designs. So as Kenny mentioned, it's like the application for actions. If you're a business, you can register your trademark at national level, but also at European level, and that will be done at the EUIPO. Same thing for the designs. Then the agency is also involved in the management of other types of IP rights, such as the geographical indications, but we don't completely do the registration. So it's mainly trademark and designs. And again, and of course, the agency is also in charge of harmonizing the policies at EU level for intellectual property rights. The agency is located in Spain, and it's a big agency, around 1,200 people, and that's what they do there in Alicante. But within this intellectual property office, there is a specific department which is called the Observatory on Infringement of IP Rights. And this department is a bit special in the sense that it was created at EU level by a regulation all the EU agencies, all the EU services, they have specific regulations. And the Observatory is one of them. And it was created in 2012. Then it went to the EUIPO. And it was created at the time because we did not really have a lot of objective data on the phenomenon of IP crime. So we had obviously the visions of the right holders who were telling us, this is a big issue, we need to do something. We had the perspective of customs who were telling us, yeah, indeed, we seize goods, okay? Then we needed to gather all the different views. So at EU level, they decided to create this structure as a network. So the idea is to gather all the relevant stakeholders, private, public, institutional. So we have all those actors that you see on the slide. We also have civil society representatives. We have a lot of associations representing right holders, consumers. We have members of the European Parliament, the European Commission services. So as you were told yesterday, Commission, the executive body of the European Union, etc., etc. But my point is that the structure is really a network, and we listen to their views, we receive their input, so that we can have the best IP policies at EU level. As you understand, of course, if you only listen to one side, then you only have a partial vision. So that's the structure of the Observatory. That's where I work, because of course they also have people like me working permanently. But then the network meets regularly and discuss the different matters regularly. Then the Observatory has specific tasks. The first one is to, what I mentioned, provide facts and evidence. What is the situation regarding IP infringements in Europe? So those are all the reports that I showed you yesterday. This is part of our mandate. We need to know, we need to have clear data, we need to understand and analyze what's going on, otherwise we cannot act properly. Then the second mandate, the second tasks, and this is what I will focus on today, is the development of tools and resources for the enforcement of IPR. Because again, our goal is to facilitate the work and the life of the businesses and of the enforcement authorities. And the third goal is to raise awareness of the EU citizens about the damages of IP crime. Because we did not mention this topic until now, and we will not really dwell on it, but obviously, one of the issue of IP crime is that there is a demand. And if there is a demand, then there is a supply. So at EU level, we try to raise the awareness, especially with young people. So we have a lot of activities in schools, for instance, to show them how negative the infringements of IP can be. But I will focus now on what we do in terms of the development of tools. And I will show you this tool, which is called the IP Enforcement Portal. What is it? First of all, it's a legal tool, meaning that it's foreseen by the regulation of the Observatory, and we've developed it on legal basis. That's the first point, because obviously if it's used by authorities, it needs to have a legal basis. So that's our legal basis. Then, basically, it's a communication tool which allows the exchange of information between law enforcement authorities, customs, but not only, and the right holders. As Kenny mentioned in his presentation, for customs, how can you get information on the products? How can you detect the products? Well, the application for action is one way, but then at the EUIPO and at the Observatory, we realized that there was a real need to find a secure way to exchange information between law enforcement authorities and the right holders. We saw from the presentation of Andrea this morning how diverse the products that customs see are. But, so obviously you cannot be a specialist in Adidas shoes. You cannot be a specialist in IT equipment. Or even worse, if you're like me, you're not a specialist at all because you don't really buy anything and you don't follow the trends of the market. So how do you do if you need to detect suspicious shipments? Well, IPEP is the solution. As I said, it's free, it's secure, because if you're exchanging personal data, then you need to have a secure tool. You don't want to be hacked. And it's available in the languages of the law enforcement authorities. So let me show you a bit more in details. First of all, we tried, because this was developed by law enforcement people, so custom officers, police officers. We know how complicated it is to be a custom officer or a police officer, so we really tried to make it as simple as possible for them, because as we mentioned yesterday, IP is not the only thing on their plate. So we really thought we should make it as easy as possible. So with the tool, the enforcers, they can search basically for anything. They can contact the right holders, and they can also send or receive alerts. So this is also one tool for risk profiling and risk information. The search is supposed to be as easy as possible, like a Google search, basically. So you can search on a specific product, on a specific intellectual property rights. You can search on one company. You can search on one contact if you already know the contacts. You can also filter your search by member states. So you see, this is the portal. You will type anything you want. So again, whatever you think might be useful for you. If you believe the shoe is from Adidas, yeah, you can start by writing the name of the shoe. And you can also filter by country. And then you will get results for everything. So you see on the different tabs, you will have the types of IP rights. If EUIPO is a trademark, and it is, you will have the trademarks. You will have the geographical indication. EUIPO is not a geographical indication, but you understand this is for the purpose of showing you patent, copyright, etc. Products, and the companies as well. And those IPRs, they are the result of the search in the specific databases. I will show them to you at the end of the presentation. So this comes from our European database for trademark, which is called TMView, DesignView for designs, etc. This comes directly from there. But the difference for enforcers is that we are only talking about registered and valid rights. So once the right has been registered and that it's fully enforceable by authorities, because we don't want to confuse customs, we don't want to confuse police if the right has not been fully registered and is not fully enforced. So then you click on the results and you get all the information. You see, this is from the trademark, and you will get all the useful information. As I said, you can search in your own language if it's easier. And then when you found your IPR, let's say, you can get in touch with the right holders. And one very useful feature of the tool, we believe, for enforcers is that you can find contacts. Who should I get in touch with when I believe that I have a suspicious product from this company? This is going way too fast. And the good thing is that you can also search in your country. And we ask the right holders to be as practical as possible, because this information is filled in by the right holders themselves. So they will tell you if this person speak your language. They will tell you what they do exactly. Are they lawyers? Are they direct representative, direct staff member of the company, etc., etc. So you can see directly, and you see you have their email address, you have their phone number, who you should get in touch with. And then you can also have information on the product. For the right holders, this is completely up to them. So they decide what they want to share. Obviously, it's in their own interest to share this type of information. But if they don't want to put product information, well, they don't. And indeed, it doesn't facilitate the work of customs or police, but that's their own decision. What they can do as well, and that was something quite important for them, they want to be able to decide who can see the information or not. So we made this information available, so they can say, okay, I want to share this with this country, but not with this country, etc. So it's up to them, and they can choose, and they can have a lot of flexibility. And then what Kenny was mentioning about the product's information and all the details that can help you detect if it's counterfeit or not, well, we have this in IPEP with more details, more pictures. The application for actions, well, it's 5 pages, which is not much, I agree with you, but it was still in the old paper format. Now at EU level, the digital format is mandatory, but it's still a form. So with IPEP, you have a nicer way and a more efficient way to see the details of the product. So they would put the information about the genuine ones and the cases that they had as well to help you detect and stop the shipments. You will have the reference of the trademarks or of the IPRs involved, and for customs, when applicable, you will have the reference of the application for action. So for you, for your own procedure, you can go back to this application for action. And you see, going back. So again, it's up to them. It's up to the right owners to put what they want. But obviously, it's in their own interest to give as much information as possible and to make the life of customs easier. The new thing is that now you can, for right holders, manage your application for action from this portal as well, from IPEP, which makes it easier for the right holders because they only have one tool to use to manage their AFA. That's the single e-filing and management point for the application for action in 24 member states. And then for Germany, Spain, and Italy, they also have their own national systems. So you see, it's always the coexistence of all systems. But you can also use IPEP, but they also have their own one. But for the other 24 member states, you just use IPEP and that's it. And you can see all your IP rights and you can see all the information for your AFA. The process, I don't know how it is, Tarto in Indonesia, the process of renewing the application for action, because it's valid only for 1 year, before for right holders, for big companies, if you think of, I don't know, Nike, for instance, or Adidas, they have many, many, many rights to protect. So it's really cumbersome. So the fact that we went finally digital, for them, it's really a plus. Yeah. So you see the application for action. Then, once you found the information you were looking for, you as enforcement authorities, you can get in touch with right holders through the tool. It's called suspicious case, and it's a message in the application. So again, no data goes out so that it remains secure. And you, as law enforcement authorities, you can notify the detentions if it's customs, or the suspicious goods that you see if you're police and if you're in the internal market. You can also set deadlines for the right holder to answer. And for customs procedure, yesterday we explained that we had strict delays where they have to answer. So this is also very good because they get a reminder if they haven't replied. We also developed a mobile version. So for custom officers, it's quite interesting as well. If you are in front of the container and you can take picture with the mobile phone, and you can also search for the product. The mobile version does not have all the features of the platform when you use it on a computer, but you can start the case and continue your procedure when you go back to the office. And on the other way, the right holders can also send information to enforcement authorities, and enforcement authorities can also exchange information among themselves. We call that alert and interesting cases when it comes from right holder to enforcement authorities. And you, as law enforcement, you can also forward this message if you think that's useful to other authorities. Again, for right holders, they can choose who they address and the content of the information. Again, if you want to put it in your legal report, you can always download this into different formats and put it in your report, send it to your boss or the prosecutor. And law enforcement authorities, they can also exchange among themselves what we call interesting case, and they can report, a bit like what Andrea mentioned about the risk information form. They can report what they see so that the information is spread out among law enforcement authorities. You see, this is Europol is also involved, is also using the tool, and this is what it looks like. You receive an email, you as law enforcement or right holders. So again, you stay in the system, but you receive an email on your inbox, and then you need to log in and go to the tool. There are some security certification which allows the tool to be connected with the IT system of law enforcement authorities. Very quickly, we have customs and again police as well, and all the relevant EU agency. And one new features that we added recently is the involvement of intermediaries, because as it was already mentioned this morning, you cannot work without the cooperation of e-commerce platforms, for instance. So we worked quite a lot to have them on board so that law enforcement can also get in touch with them. Because you, as a custom officers, if you need to get in touch with Amazon, or I don't know what the most famous e-commerce platform would be in Asia or in Indonesia, but you might not know who to contact. So the fact that they're on the platform, you can search for them and you have the same feature. Who do I get in touch with? How do I contact them? Are they competent for my country? And again, it's always in your own language if you don't want to have it in English. So you can also exchange information with the same way. Those are the ones we have at the moment, 8. It's not a lot, but we are also working with them so that I can join. And they are, you see, mostly European, well, they are active in the European market. And again, same thing, you can find their contact details there. So those are the people on board. We have 6 companies from Southeast Asian countries. Obviously, for right holders, if you do not make business in Europe, it doesn't really make sense because, as you understand, the law enforcement authorities, they're only from the European countries. But if you do, then this is a way to get in touch with them. Intermediaries, this is the number of IPRs we have. We have information on more than 13,000 products, and it keeps on increasing every day. 94 enforcement authorities present. That's much more than the 27 countries, you will tell me, of course, but this is also because we have local police. They also have access. The way it is organized within the police or customs, it's completely up to the country. They decide, and it's up to them, and whatever they want, we will, if they want to give an access to each officers, this can be done. If they want to have a centralized point, this can be done as well. This is really their own decision. So that's it, basically. Main pros, it's free. Law enforcement authorities do not have to pay for it. Right holders also do not pay for it. It's secure, and it's multilingual. We only have 23 official languages in the EU, so that's why it's not 27. And again, very quickly, because we are running a bit out of time, but a bit less. We also have databases, so this is accessible freely, and basically those are the databases of the registered intellectual property rights. So this is maintained by the EUIPO. This is quite a big job because obviously it needs to work. You need to be able to search for it. So not only for law enforcement, obviously, but also for right holders and IP practitioners. Those are all the databases that we maintain. I will not go over this one because they're really for IP specialists and a bit less for law enforcement. But yeah, basically trademark TM view database for trademarks, design view, registered designs. You can search for all of them by product type, by type of, a classification, and by applicants as well. We also have something on geographical indication, which is also a type of IPR very much used and widely spread within Europe. And with this, I will conclude my presentation. Those tools, the databases, you can access them if that's useful for you. And the IP enforcement portal, as I mentioned, that's only for law enforcement and right holders. But yeah, again, with this goal of making the life of enforcement officers easier and also supporting the cooperation with IP owners, as it is essential in the fight against IP crime. Thank you for your attention.